want to talk to you really about expansion versus contraction. And I want to talk to you about that because intuition is so much about navigating towards our future, so that we can actually create the future that we want for ourselves. Now, the truth is that future is either going to be completely amazing and brilliant, and our life is going to expand, and we're going to realize so much more of our potential and realize many more opportunities, or it's kind of going to go the other way. It's going to contract, and life is going to get harder, and our lives are going to get narrower. I'm sure you've observed this in the world, that a lot of people, as they get older, they're just brilliant. They're just open to so much. They're easygoing. They're just really have a wonderful attitude to life, a very open, embracing attitude to life. But then other people, as they get older, they get kind of like more and more stuck in their ways. Their life sort of seems to get smaller and smaller. So that is how life goes. It either expands or it contracts. I mean, somebody once said to me a long time ago, you're either green and growing or you're ripe and rotten, which is kind of a rather graphic picture of what I'm talking about. So I am going to guess or assume that you, like me, would prefer to have a future that is expansive rather than one that is contractive. Now, there is a trick to that though, isn't there? Because the thing is that, as I said, I'm sure we all want to have an expansive future. In fact, I'm sure even if you ask the people whose lives do seem to be getting narrower and narrower, they would tell you, no, of course they want to have more opportunities and more freedom and more expansion and more abundance in life. But when we look around the world, not everybody has an expansive future. And so for me, that naturally raises the question of why. Well, see, the thing is, so many of the stories that we are told, that we watch, that we read, it's almost like these stories almost tell us a bit of a lie, really. I mean, they don't mean to. It's just that they're trying to, compress many, many years of what happens into this sort of one dramatic moment or this one dramatic arc of time. And so these stories tell us that, the future, whether it's the future of an individual or of a family or of a country or whatever, that the future actually turns on one moment. And this is clearly not true. So it's not true because, it's not that, one day, bang, our life expands, or, woof, it just collapses. No, it expands little bit by little bit, or it contracts little bit by little bit. In other words, every single moment that we have, every single little decision that we make is either going to be expansive or it's going to be contractive. Now, when we're in the habit of always choosing the expansive option, then that takes us in this direction. Whereas when we're always contracting, that takes us in a very different direction. So we can end up in very, very different places. And those different places can be, energetically or spiritually, if or mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, relationships, all the areas of life. So how do we make sure that we have a more expansive outcome future? How do we train ourselves to always choose the expansive option? Well, the more that we know how to tune into who we really are, that helps, because it helps us always actually look at, well, where am I? What's going to give me more of me? But the other technique, which I talk about in my book, The Soul's Brain, so, if you haven't already read it, I would encourage you to do so. Oh, and if you have read it, can you please put a review up on Amazon's or Goodreads or whatever? Anyway, so in there I talk about that actually when we're looking to make a choice about something or manifest something, we don't just want to think about what it is that we want to manifest. we want to think certainly about that, but we want to think about, well, who am I going to be once I have that? Because that's one way that we can start to ensure that this is actually moving us in a positive, expansive direction. And then we actually want to have a third column, which is about the exchange that's going to have. Like, so this thing that I want to create and this future self, what is my future self going to be putting into this thing that I want? And what is this thing that I want going to be putting into me? Because that means that we're actually making sure that it's going to be expansive for us, and it's going to be expansive for whatever it is that we're wanting to manifest, whether it's a new job, a new partner. I mean, we can understand that those things obviously can be expensive, but, you know, everything in life. So even if you want to manifest a new house, or living in a different country, or a new state of health, like, you want to think about how it works from both sides. Because if you do that, if you're making sure that actually both sides are expanding, well, then if you do that, having a future that is more expansive is, well, it's inevitable. So work on that. As I said, get my book, you know, work through that exercise. Well, actually all the exercises in my book if you haven't already. But however you do it, do that. Work towards having every choice of yours expanding you just that little bit more. And when you do that, well, then you'll be living your brilliance sooner or later. So do that, and until next time, remember that you're brilliant.